Masalam alaikum. Oh, right on the money here. You're following the assignment. Well, good. We welcome you all here to our second gathering in Morocco. You are spending the afternoon in a town called Ouarzazate. Is that how? Ouarzazate. All right, Ouarzazate. It is Morocco's little Hollywood, yes? This is nothing like Hollywood, just that there are many old structures here, and so many movies have been made in this town, as you've heard many people speak, because of the beauty of the contrast of the anti-atlas and the high atlas in the distance, and the old structures. It looks as if you've stepped back in time. By now, you've been traveling for, let's say, 4 days or some such, and you have gotten used to immersing yourself in the culture of the Arabs, of the Berbers of Morocco. We remind you once again that you are, let's say, on a vacation, so to speak. You are on a study holiday. You are also walking the lines of time. You are students, just as we are students, and we are all learning about the intricacies and the expediencies and the delights of multi-dimensional living. We remind you once again that your point of power is in the now. This is what this journey is about, to gather more energy, to learn how to play with that energy. And it depends what kind of player you want to be. Many of you, if you let your imagination drift for a moment, can recall being a child and going over perhaps to someone's house, or playing in the schoolyard, or going to a playground, going to families' houses to play together. That's what you are encouraged to do when you are young, to play. Your parents would say, now get along, treat each other well. Well, at least if they were good parents, they would. And you had time to play and to imagine and to create. And perhaps you had a few worldly artifacts, a swing set, and etc., on which to base your adventures or to launch yourself into reality. And now you're adults, and you've left your childhood playgrounds far behind. But sometimes you carry your playground behavior with you, and without even knowing it. We would invite you all to understand that we are opening the cosmic sandbox for you. And you all have a grand opportunity to play with energy as true beings of higher consciousness. That involves embodying, first of all, a sense of humor, a great sense of groundedness, and a great sense of trust. Sense of humor, groundedness, and trust. The trust has grace. The grace has ease. The ease has inshallah. They're all somewhat the same. Do you understand? And because your planet is being influxed with so much energy, and whenever you are doing energy work to expand your consciousness around the 4 points of the cardinal cross, again, the sign of Aries, the sign of Cancer, the sign of Libra, and the sign of Capricorn, the solstices and equinoxes, when you do group energy work close to those vortexes, you have an opportunity to simply unfold and blossom and reach new levels of awareness. And you do it, let's say, best when you cooperate, when you are willing to put new costumes on, new customs, learn new words, eat new foods, approach things in a different way, even change your seats on the bus. Let's say the more territorial you become with, well, this is how it's always been and this is how it has to be, then that creates rigidity. And purely as advice and from a point of view as, let's say, your cosmic friends, in these times of acceleration, when you start to lick your fingers and you say, I want that energy that's accelerating, I'll stick my fingers in the big cosmic light socket here, you'd best be grounded. because that circuitry is going to start running through you. And if you have blocks, if you have conditions, if you have shoulds, if you have controls, if you have fears, all these things create huge dams. And when the big flood of energy wants to come, what is it going to do? It's going to burst the dam, yes? And then what happens? You wreak havoc and chaos inside your physical body. Now, within this room, we know there's a wide variation of attitudes towards the body. We would love to scan the room and say, wow, 1,000% everyone here loves their body. That's not the truth. We are not manure throwers. So, there is variation. Some of you like your body, but some of you have, let's say, I like this, but the rest I could not look at or not bother with, or I got stuck with, or my body does this, or whatever. We would ask you, please, with Venus in Cancer now, to love your body as a goddess, let's say, a creator goddess would love the life that is being birthed on this planet. You are birthing consciousness. You are not birthing control. You are not birthing, let's say, analyzing things from a purely scientific point of view. You are not birthing a new religion. Your planet is birthing a transition period, and you are representatives of what consciousness is doing. When people venture forward into the bush, up to the mountain, into the earth, wherever they are adventurers, wherever those Aries say, I shall go where no one's been before. When that energy is alive on the planet, it is exciting, it brings things forward, and it opens ways for others. Aries are noted for starting things and not finishing them. Sometimes that's their perfect role, to begin something, to initiate, to leave it open for others, then to widen the road and to make branches off of the road. You are making roads. We reminded you the other day, you are in some ways walking in the footsteps of the giants. We remind you that you've also, these last few days, been traveling through the various, let's say, sections of the Atlas Mountains in Berber country, and one thing you are finding is the people are quite welcoming to you. They're hospitable, they're gracious, and they are taking care of you as if you were royalty. There are things you do not have to do, that others are providing for you with grace. In some way you are learning this so that you can take this back and make a pattern and a way to show others. One thing you are learning also in this culture is how, let's say, the people here think, what founds their beliefs, how they've built a reality around their beliefs. And there's no judgment on beliefs, but ideally you will all see that beliefs can be chosen. Yes, you are born into beliefs, and you have beliefs that you carry around with you. And you have mass beliefs that, let's say, cannot be changed because they are agreements that set the stage for consciousness. But what you believe in and how you philosophize your life is your choice. And all of humanity right now is being challenged, let's say, to unfold to a new picture of reality, a new philosophy. And you are among the students and those who are self-led into unknown territory. You are pioneers of the people. So we ask you, please, to take on even more dignity, more grace, and represent it, let's say, a consciousness that is looking to understand all things and how humanity truly is connected. So with that bit of introduction, we will turn it over to you. We will dialogue with you with questions. We hope you are lively, and you can comment on, let's say, aspects of the journey, what you saw, what excited you, insight that you have. Ideally, you will start to put a few things together now that you have immersed much deeper. You're eating the food, you are sleeping. Last night many of you slept in tents. It was quite a profound evening, black and white tents up here on the highlands of the Atlas Ridge. And perhaps many of you noticed your dreams. Yesterday morning you started off watching sunrise at the Sahara. Before that you had a racing ride out into the desert. This time you were in fancy SVUs or SUVs, whatever they are called. But ideally that would have reminded you of the times you would have raced to the dawn or something else on camels, perhaps some on horses. So the things you do now are always connected to something else. If something's giving you a thrill of excitement, see if you can just poke a hole in it and say, what other timeline is connected behind, through, and intertwined with this? So let's hear your story and stories, and please state your name loud and clear. And if you want to fool around this afternoon and change your name, you can simply say Capricorn here, Gemini, and really play with us and trick us if you want to. And trick yourselves so that you are a little more out of identity. Or perhaps the next class we'll ask you all to come with a different name, an Arabic or a Berber name, and you will identify yourself by that, and that will confuse the heck out of all of you. That will be your assignment for next class, that somehow between now and then you come up with a name. It can be long, it can be short, and you will know a little bit about what the name represents and the identity behind it. It's just play. Do you understand? Just play. All right. Let's say we give you the bismillah, the many blessings. Let's go for it. Who's got the first question, please? The big silence. Yes.
This is Joyce.
Joyce. All right.
Can you explain what happened to the giants, and if the moon had anything to do with it?
Say it again, please, and very slowly. It's echoey in here. What happened to the giants?
Yes, what happened to the giants, and if the moon had anything to do with it, the distance from the earth.
If the moon had anything to do with it. Well, Joyce, you listen to tape, so you know we've talked about that, yes? Have you heard that?
I've heard about some of the giants, but I don't recall this particular.
Well, we've mentioned many times that the relationship of the moon and its position to the earth can change the structure of the size of life and how the consciousness is attuned on the planet. The moon is an artificial structure. It certainly was not always in position, its current position or its current relationship. The ancients at some point in time had the moon much, much closer. So that begs the question, who moves the moon? Yeah, who's moving the cheese? Yes. So that's something that you have to think of for yourself. That's one of those stretches, the idea that the moon and many moons in your solar system and throughout the cosmos are placed in relationship to the planet to, let's say, help generate life. Today you think nothing of the, let's say, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of space junk and satellites that are orbiting around your planet. That's after Sputnik, that was sort of, been there, done that. And now so many things you do are dependent upon those satellites up there. And if those satellites were to come down, or if the sun were to send out some massive solar ejections and to literally fry that stuff, your lives would change instantly. Do you understand? And many of you can remember what it was like before you had dependence on space technology. So you cannot remember really in general what it was like without the moon. So in the same way, the satellites were to go down, if your big moon satellite were to shift, let's say, its relationship to Earth or be shifted, then it could change the structure of life on Earth. It has before, and as we see it, it will again. It could be in the future, to balance Earth, another moon is brought into position. But that will take a bit of, let's say, understanding for humanity. You were learning about the Berber culture, and how they had a little bit of an opposition from how you understand the sun and the moon. In the Western world, the sun is male, the moon is female, mother goddess, yes? In their tradition and in other traditions, the moon is male and the sun is female. But the representatives are still there. Is one right and one wrong? No. However you want to assign meaning to reality, you can build a reality behind it. So back to the larger question here, what happened to the giants? It's a big question, and it could involve a big seminar answer, and so we are not going to take up the whole afternoon on what happened to the giants, but we will offer you insight. The giants had their own purpose on earth, and they came and went for a long time. They are visitors, they are stellar beings. Long ago. No, you know we mean a long ago now, yes. Billions of years. Perhaps in the lines of time, but long ago we are talking, far beyond the historical record. There have been beings on your planet that were gigantic and huge. And they were, let's say, here to scout the land, to be the mountains. There are myths that say that they woke up from the mountains, just as there are legends and myths that speak of dragons who were asleep in the mountains, and the mountain moved and the dragon came out. With the dragon culture, you have the belief that there are water dragons, there are fire dragons, earth dragons, and air dragons. Again, the four elements of the 4 points of counting time. You understand that your earth has been inhabited by a wide variety of beings. And we want you to understand that the giants really covered the surface of the earth. The story of Noah, do you recall it? When one of the angels visited Noah and said there's going to be a flood, or one of the gods supposedly. And from some stories it appears that the brothers Enlil and Enki, the Sumerian half-brothers, the Sumerian visiting gods, that it was Enlil who said these beings are bad, we must create a flood and destroy their nastiness. And it was Enki who then went and, some say, whispered to Noah, hey Noah, my brother's really mad and things are going to be very bad. There's going to be a big flood. So you'd better build a boat and put 2 of each animal on it. This is how the story comes down. But remember, all stories are simplified so that they can be understood at a young age. But every story has a core truth and multiplicity of meanings that spring out from it. Nonetheless, it is Noah who, as the legends go, and he has many different names in many different cultures, and there have been many histories of floods on the planet. So one could say that the giants had to battle the floods. They were one of the reasons. Their misuse of energy, their promiscuity, etc., came down in history as they became the scapegoats for why one or a few of the floods took place, to wipe out their wickedness. The giants are also affiliated with the Nephilim. Nephilim are affiliated with, let's say, God's angels who would not listen to the big honcho God and said, hey God, we're going to do what we want, and too bad you are in charge, but guess what? We have kundalinis rising, and we are looking down at these earthly women, and they are turning our kundalinis to fire. We want to go down and to join with them. We are willing to give up our forms in part spirit and part angelic to take on a human body, and we have magic, we can do it, and we are going to mate with them. And from that you have the story of the Titans, where the daughters of man mated with these Nephilim giants, or Rephilim as they are sometimes called, and a new race called Titans was born. Well, you've seen the skeletal pictures of the giants, yes? And the little 6-footer, that's a 6-footer, and how many women do you know that are earthlings that reach 6 feet? And of course, body parts are body parts. So what are you going to do with a big giant body part and a little woman body part? You understand? How does the little woman's vagina accommodate the gigantic phallic? And so obviously you are talking genetic engineering here. Do you understand? The ability, and when we say genetic engineering, you think to yourselves laboratories, perhaps Lawrence Livermore or Los Alamos or one of the other laboratories around the planet. But remember, if beings could take on form from being, let's say, multidimensional and desiring the daughters of man so much that they were willing to give up their multidimensional form to take on a body, that is a form of magic. Now, what is interesting is that here in Morocco, the grandson or the great-grandson or some such of Noah, his name was Goma. Virgo was telling you the story the other day. It was the Gomerian giants who fought against the alleged biblical character and his troops called Moses, and there is much debate about the legitimacy, literally, of this character, Moses, son of Pharaoh, etc., 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 and leading the Jews out of captivity in Egypt and across the Red Sea and all of this. Much of this is, let's say, metaphor, but there are truths within truths. And so it was the Gomerian giants and many others, Anakim, and that occupied the Middle East. And many of the giants at one point now migrated back to the surface for another round of taking things over out of Mongolia. There were long, long periods of migrations. They came out of Mongolia, some went north, some went south, recolonizing. So then that shows you that what happened to the giants, if they came out of the earth, then perhaps they would crawl back in. Do you understand? And so the giants have created being involved in floods. They have been involved in insanity. They have been involved in the misuse of energy. They have been involved in, let's say, building this planet's history. Your heroes, your kings, your great legends are filled with those who are giants. Even if you were to look in modern history, in this case, let's call modern history the last 2,000 years, you would find that many of the characters, not just Goliath, were giants. But it became necessary over time to wash the giants from the literature. The Romans were quite terrified of the giants. The Romans were tolerant in many ways, allowing a sort of what the popes have called cafeteria-style religion. They wanted certain taxes paid, they wanted certain, let's say, things obeyed, which they allowed, let's say, the mixtures of religions to take place. But when the Romans, just as the Israelis, so to speak, had to face the giants, they were terrified. And the Israelis are facing the giants thousands of years before the Romans. So the giants were, let's say, so oppressive on the planet that what happened, people understood magic. And they understood that if you erased something and all its traces, you erased its entry onto the planet. And this is why, to digress a bit, things have been discovered. A few years ago in the wilds, a few years ago, that is a little loose there, I'd say in the last 15 years or some such, things were discovered in the wilds of Indonesia. Creatures, openings, things that were, let's say, not permitted by the military to exist, not recognized in the scientific spectrum of species. And so there were great fires. Do you recall them? Yes. And the same has happened in the Amazonia regions. Sometimes they say, well, they're doing for this, they're doing for this. But many stories are simply cover stories where something has gone in and military forces or whatever go in and they destroy an area if they discover an alternative species. So the giants literally have in some ways disappeared from the conscious mind, but their presence and their records are left in the onion or the subconscious mind. They are still alive, so they are communicating with you, your pea, through your potato or the unconscious mind. And there are many places around the planet where giants are buried to awaken for the future. We've talked about it with others, about the information that was shared about the giants, let's say, sequestered away in the Four Corners region, which we are saying in clusters of 8 to mark the points of time. There are clusters of 8 of these beings in many places around the planet, usually in the dry mountainous regions. You understand? Dry because you have preservation, etc., etc. So where have the giants gone? Controllers have disappeared them because they were afraid of them, and others because they wanted to control the knowledge of their presence, others to hide the power for secrecy. Many answers, Joyce, do you understand? And they are still alive in your time. In simultaneous time, of course they exist, but in your time, in your current 2008, were you able to enter the earth? You would find the giants. And also there is the association, many are putting this together, of what you call the Yeti and the abominables, yes? And they often act as interdimensionals around places where giants have been buried. You may want to ask, let's say, your guide Ahmed, if there are any legends of the strange and unusual creatures, what the local legends are about, let's say, animals, birds, creatures that the people believe in, and what's been passed down. Because the Atlas Mountains would be a deep portal for, let's say, reality shifts. Wherever you have, what is the word for it when there is a big line on the earth? No, it is a crack line. Fault line, that is the word, fault line, yes. Ley lines are energy lines, but also tremendous energy runs along the fault lines. The ley lines are sort of given, they are there. The grandmothers left them, do you understand? They are old. The crack lines respond to what you call plate shifts, but the plate shifts move according to the consciousness of all the beings on the planet, and that includes the rocks, the protozoa, the giants inside, the reptiles hidden away, the busy surface humans, everything. The earth is alive. And so here, your guide was pointing out that between the anti-Atlas, the old Atlas Mountains, and the high Atlas Mountains, there is a big fault line that runs. When you have fault line, you have what? You have earthquake, yes? Mm-hmm. And when you have earthquake, you have the ability for the earth to not follow any clocks and schedules, and to completely shift energy, which shifts time. And in earthquakes, their time is suspended. Time goes multidimensional in earthquakes. It's a big release of energy. So things have happened here in Morocco for a long, long time. And creatures and things have shown up. There is an old history. But the Berbers, they hold their cards close to their chest, you know. They do not going to tell you everything just because you are paying them to guide you. You follow? It would take you years and years to be friends. But if you make this intention to come back, or to study the Berbers, or to open the history and the secrets of the Berbers, and to honor what they have been carrying, they're very powerful people. Ahmed was saying to you that the Berber culture dates back to 10,000 BC. Bingo, ding dong. Anyone get that one? That you add 2,000 to it, and what does that come up with? About 12,000 years ago. And again, you have a generalization date of this is the, let's say, demise of Atlantis. So you are talking about, if the Berbers are dating back that far, you are talking perhaps about Atlantean survivors. And we will add this, that many of the Atlantean giants went inside the earth, when, let's say, many of them saw what was coming, it was not a shock to them. They did not suddenly go, wow, we put too much fuel on the fire, we are going to get our bums burned. Many of them were smart, they saw what was coming. They built beforehand, they planned, they prepared, and they migrated through their grand tunnel system. And their grand tunnel system connects the entire planet. And so they went into the tunnel systems and into the air. And so again, you have the story of the Berbers perhaps coming back out onto the surface and settling into the Atlas Mountains. And if Atlas was considered one of their gods, then why not name these mountains where the gods lived Atlas? You follow? Yes. All right, let's hear some questions, comments. Can't give you the whole story, but we'll give you enough so that you start popping popcorn. That's what we call it. Someone. Anyone?
This is Aquarius.
Aquarius, lovely.
I think I understood last time you said that we're giants, this group.
You have giant lineage, yes.
Giant lineage. So I'm taking that information plus what you said today and wondering if there's a way that we could get in touch with that lineage enough to locate the giants, or speak to them, or knock on their door and say good morning. The ones that are sleeping.
All right. Well, you are thinking, well, if we could only find the trail and get right there and peek in on them, literally. First, in order for something to happen, you must imagine it and have strong intentionality around it. And we have a little formula. Did we cover the formula the other day? Some of you have heard this over and over again, but it is 2 I's, the letter I, and then the word ear, E-A-R. Double I, ear. It means intention, coupled with imagination, expectation, action equals results. We recommend the very best way to open these realities and to satisfy your curiosities and to fulfill your duties, because some of these things you are asking about are duties, Aquarius. You do have a duty, the collective of humanity, those that can vote themselves in, to liberate humanity from its shackles of fear about who you think you are, to bring cosmic conscious awareness to the planet, and then to support in your mind. Your guide said to you today, do you believe in giants? He was quite startled when you all said yes. Do you think the Japanese, the Germans, and all the other groups said, well, yes, we believe in giants? You believe more than he does, do you understand?
Yes.
Because you know more. Although our vehicle did show him the chart, so he had something to go by. She asked him to talk about this morning. Before he gave the talk, she asked him if he would please share anything about the Berber understanding of giants, and she showed him the chart, and she told him a little bit about, very generally, what you were, let's say, looking to understand. So you can, first of all, Aquarius, start by intentionality and imagining. Imagine when you are sitting around on this trip and you are looking out over the hills, and you are giving yourself a moment of wonder and gazing and dazing off. Just imagine what it was like to be much bigger. And today when you went in the Kasbah, yes, did your sweet little guide not point out there? He said, well, yes, look, the people who used to be here were much bigger and much taller. He said, you see how big the steps are? Did you all hear that? Yes. And certainly when you got inside the Kasbah, there was plenty of room for taller visitors or dwellers. However, you noticed that the doorways, one had to duck their head, if one remembered. Traditionally, many cultures offer the teaching that when you duck your head, it is about humility. It brings you down closer to the earth. The Native American people have you duck down to go into the sweat lodge. The Eskimos, you duck down to go in. Or you may say that it's for this or for this or for this, but the ancient belief is that it brings you back down to the earth, and there is, by ducking your head, there is a bow that you offer the earth. You follow this? It's that simple. It's that simple. So the information is there. Invite it in, imagine it, and dream it, and things will open for you. Not tomorrow, perhaps as grandly as you would like, but each day for the rest of your life you will contribute to knowing more about the giants, Aquarius. Who else has a question or comment?
This is Leo.
Who is it?
Leo?
Leo. Oh, right, Leo. That's your roar. Right, Leo.
I have enjoyed studying North African art, and I always was attracted to some of the Tuareg, which is a Berber jewelry.
Yes.
And a lot of their jewelry, which has always fascinated me, is complex geometric signs that I never knew what they meant, and I was wondering if you could speak into that.
Well, the Berbers are certainly not the only culture who operate with design. So let's speak of design in general. Whether you are in the Indonesian islands, Polynesian islands, whether you are in the southwest part of the United States, or whether you are looking at, let's say, pottery of any culture, the artwork of any culture, the signs are ancient symbols. Some of them are prayers. Some of them, and by prayers, what do you think a prayer is? Christian world, a prayer is, dear Jesus, dear Mary, dear Pleiadians, whatever you want to ask. No laughing, huh? You didn't think that was funny? You pray, and you pray to set a way, and that's with words. Churches sometimes use objects to pray to set a way. What way is being set? A way for consciousness to be here, to perceive. Ideally, by now you are learning that there are general agreements, but there are individual ways that you are molded just by color, images, shapes, sounds. Your guide today was very clever. He took Padre Michael aside and he said, look, here is the Word of God written in his ear. You follow?
Yes.
So, by the shape of the ear, for those who are in mystery land there, the letters of the Arabic alphabet will spell out Allah, just by the shape of the ear, anyone's ear. So, symbols are read by the body. And we've mentioned a number of times that the body is a code reading device. And that you can have an experience with this body and never realize that you are reading code. Which you get exposed to the Berber art or anyone's art, and that art influences you. It can attune your consciousness, it can settle you in, it can bring health, it can bring you into the group mind, it can lift your spirit or open the musical realms to you. So it depends on how these shapes are organized. But people did not doodle so much. Today, sometimes you are chatting on the phone or waiting, and you may take a pen to hand and do what you call impulsive art or scribbling. And that is also part of the subconscious mind wanting to convey information, wanting to show you that if you draw things out that don't even mean something, they will mean something by you seeing them. It's the same way with this ancient art. The forbidding of certain images keeps the mind from wanting to obsess on obtaining those images. This is in the Islamic world. Do you understand? No fruits, no vegetables, no peoples, nothing living. It is supposedly to keep you in touch with the divine spirit. The Berber work would keep the old Atlantean ancient memories alive. So if you are attracted to some sort of Berber art, let's say it could be older than anyone thinks or has memory for what it connects to. And these would be old Atlantean truths, because what is preserved is always what is of the greatest value. People bring into form and write down the things that they believe are most important for their ancestors, who will then follow them to know. These are collective warnings, collective memories that are considered to be the prime memories, and they often end up in music, in rugs, and in jewelry. You may not see it for the meaning, but part of the body on the cellular level and the deep multi-D level knows. Sometimes people do shamanic work, and they go deep into altered states carefully and with clear intention in one way or another, and they are able to penetrate the knowledge that are stored in these things. You follow this?
Yes.
Here you watch the jinn. You may not believe in the jinn, but these are their belief systems. And one thing that most people are learning, if you are a traveler, just because these are not your belief systems doesn't mean that theirs are phony when you are in them. When you step into someone's belief system, it is best to step with respect, because they are telling you this is what happens in our playground, whether you believe it or not. You follow? Mm-hmm. Yes. That's where we said walk with grace, walk with humor, and stay grounded. Anything else, Leo?
No.
All right, who else has a question, comment? What did you think of the Sahara? As you learn, the Sahara, the word itself means desert. And you were there at dawn. The dunes were how large? Big. How is anyone going to know what that means? Big. Yeah, big. How big? Mountains. Very good. And what was your feeling when the light was lifted and you saw the exquisite, let's say, perfection of the artwork of the dunes?
That was amazing.
It was soothing.
Soothing. What else? Amazing. Awe-inspiring. That nature and here's the thing with the dunes: they shift, they change. And you went to the Eastern Sahara. Say it again.
Cancer, the Western.
Western. Also, sorry, Western. Very good. Western. Sorry, we are getting our vehicles Eastern, Western, right, left mixed up there. Western Sahara.
And so the colors were exquisite and primary.
Yes.
Primary colors like red, yellow,
feeding.
blue.
Let's say this, that they were feeding your chakras, these colors. They were rich in grounding your root chakra.
Yes.
So ideally, and of course some of you did Qigong with our vehicle, you took your shoes off, you were in the sand, and you were doing some good hand movements as the wind is whipping around, and think about this time you were watching it, you were playing with the energy, and as soon as you moved off, it all sort of calmed down. There was a great amount of energy coming off that land. And again, the chakras would have been adjusted if you allowed the adjustment. And the dunes were not so easy to climb, were they? And they were endless, yes? Climb one, and what do you see? A sea, an ocean, an infinite ocean going out. And we have mentioned at some point in time that the Sahara, points of the Sahara, what you could now call the great desert, were home to some very, very old and high civilizations at one time. Your guide mentioned the Tuareg, or the Tuareg, desert people, desert nomads, just as the Berber were also known to be nomadic or desert people, wanderers. They also would have been, let's say, wanderers from the old cities that would have gone down far before the flooding time, far before the final fall of Atlantis. There was a great sophisticated high culture that was in the eras of, let's say, the Great Sahara. If you look to see where the mountains were, and there's a number of mountainous areas, there are remains, or let's say vitrified forts, old caches of things still there. And this would have been destroyed, let's say, if your demise of Atlantis was 12,000 years ago, let's say what you are looking at in the Sahara and the resulting wars that created the great deserts and the destruction of the land, you are looking at about let's say 40,000 years ago, some such like this, a much longer, older trauma. So you are on the edge of the great desert. For some of you, it would have been, our vehicle said, I'm home, I know this desert. For others of you, there was release, a catharsis, reminded you of other things, connected you to the power of the desert, the raw, as Chet said, primal energy. If you did not know how to survive the desert was death. But for some people who were sequestered away in the Kaabas and assaulted harems, or taken in slavery throughout many thousands of years, the desert sometimes was liberation. You came to the desert and you prayed that you would find life out there as you were escaping the slavery, the places that, let's say, changed your life. Sometimes people were kept in rooms, as you saw today in the Kaaba, various women's quarters and things of this nature. So, lots of history here. Lots of memories, yeah.
Please.
Yes.
This is Karen Sage.
Sage, all right.
And this afternoon when I was lounging around by the pool, I was tracing back in my mind what we had done since we left Fez on Sunday morning.
Yes.
And I was, attempting to look at what we did in symbolic terms. And then earlier today, in your talk, you mentioned how we needed to go forward on this trip with humor, groundedness, and trust. And I can see that's exactly what we've been doing. We left Fez and we started into the mountains. And what did we do? We stopped in the cedar forest. With protection of the cedar forest, and we grounded ourselves with all that qigong and hugging the trees and communing with the trees.
And you asked Morocco to open its arms.
And later that day, I think we all laughed just uncontrollably at times as we played with the symbology of language with,
as you were having your Arabic lessons on the bus.
It was a wonderful, made the bus ride just fly, and all that laughter was just so, wonderful. It felt great.
And remember, laughter can open the chakras safely, and laughter strengthens the immune system, among many other things.
We ended up, at the Palms, our little oasis that night, in preparation, for the next day.
Yes, and your temperatures were 100 degrees or exceeding it during the day, so hot and still hot at night, hot desert winds, yes.
And we got up the next morning, and as I believe Catherine B. said today, we were, like systems busters out in those Jeep 4x4s, like heading for this. We were warriors, like heading for the desert.
Racing at full-on speed, full throttle, yes? Would that be a full throttle forward ahead out into the sandy desert, to the unknown, to the edge?
Later on in the day, we had the rock, not later on, actually that morning, we stopped at the rock shop where I got grounded again.
Well, at the rock shop, remember, you were looking at fossils that were millions and millions of years old. Yes?
Yes.
Marbleized fossils.
We got to the gorge, and I think that was a very grounding, soothing place, and everybody.
There would be great healing energy between the rocks. Within the gorge, that would be a place. There's a lot of information stored in stone and bone. You are stuck between these stones or hanging out between these big, gigantic wall faces, and water's running through. Water always conducts consciousness. It conducts emotionality. It conducts energy. You sat in your little sultan's palace and had lunch. Not quite a sultan's palace, but the seating, the food, how you eat, everything is throwing you outside of your normal routine. And we told you it was going to be a wonderful journey. A doozy, we said. Continue, if you would.
Well, we're driving through the valleys, we're in the lushness, and then we're looking at these environmental, these huge, mountains around us. We end up, getting to our Cosma. Here we have the tents, grounding again. And that night, I'm just skipping all, everybody had all their own experiences in between. And, you know, that night, what we do, we're lulled to sleep with the drumming. It puts us in another altered state.
Or trance state, deep, yes.
You know, we experienced in those 2 days. So, you know, then we really start picking all the little things there. There's a lot going on when we really, think about what we've done.
The tremendous amount going on, because each visual and each shift on the bus, off the bus, each smelling this, tasting this, looking this, your senses are being again opened in a very different way. And all of this is necessary to get those old outfits off yourself, the old way you identify yourself, the old way you think you have to do things. And you have to shed. And so all of these situations are graciously taking you out of your comfort zone into a new, let's say, out of your old identity, into a new zone of comfort and ease, if you would allow it. If you truly look at the symbols of this journey, just yesterday you start out in a let's say, race to the desert, a pre-dawn race to the desert. You see the magnificence of the Sahara. And then by evening, you are being drummed to sleep. And many of you slept in tents, and you are in a luscious oasis. Think of the symbols, purely symbolically. And then you can insert yourself in there and say, on this initiation of the desert to the oasis, how did I respond? What did I do? Did I remember to tip? Did I remember to say thank you? Was I having difficulty here? Did I involve others in my difficulty, or did I help others out of their difficulty? Am I holding and hiding? Am I exuding? You all must learn to look, to see, and to find that place again where you are laughing, where you are grounded, and you are trusting. And there's much, much more to come. Karen, do you have a question, or shall we move on?
No, I just wanted to...
You were giving a recapitulation, and that was wonderful. People like to hear this because they're going to boost the tourism rate from Morocco. Yes, and inshallah.
Well, I could have just digged out and forgot about, but I really wanted to, how I started, the days are racing by.
The days are racing by, yes. So what about today, and today's day, when you got clonked on the head? What did that do for you, not to spend too much time on it?
It really opened up my solar plexus and my heart chakra. It really, I'm feeling, very really open to the country, And
you moved through it.
The mountains, it's just everything. I'm just having all these realizations, and the whole thing. Looking at this woman that. This Arab woman, I looked at her and I could see her. It was hot. Everyone knows how hot it was today. And there she was in her, her outfit, and she had her head covered. And I know we were hot, and we were. And I just felt so good in the room we were in. And then I think I talked to Linda, and asked her how she was. And I was feeling great. And all of a sudden, I looked at this woman, and I get clobbered in the head, not paying attention to the doorway. And obviously that was, meant to be, and because it just hurt very much, and the hurt went away, but then I had all the emotion.
You had the timeline. So first you had the hurt, and then the hurt was the Avon ladies at the door.
Yeah, it was.
And then it opens the timeline, and the way to move through the timeline is not to intellectualize it.
Yeah.
The way to move through the timeline is to feel it. And some people lose control over their bowels when they feel it, do you understand? Or they lose control over their stomach and they upchuck it. You don't have to do it that way, but it is a way of feeling it. It's a more repressed feeling. What you want to do in many of these situations when you get walloped is to allow yourself to cry, or to tear up, or to be vulnerable. You allowed our vehicle to help you and to give you a hug, and this is the way the event is over, when you allow yourself to receive from another in that moment. Because you're making a timeline connection. However you do it, you all do it in different ways. Sometimes you're shopping and you make timeline connections. Some of these timeline connections are very soft, they're very subtle, they're very easy. And some of them are quite dramatic. Some of them land in the body, some of them land outside the body, some of them land with material things. It's all play. It's all play. But if you take the play too serious, then you are with the wrong group of extraterrestrials. Ours is about play. And we have done our gracious best, alhamdulillah, to give you all of the tools so that you will be able to graciously move through these times ahead. And Morocco is a test for you. It's also showing all of you how you've lived, how people live, what works. It doesn't really work to sequester women and put them behind these grills and have them look out into the world. It creates sadness along the lines of time. But today, when you were riding through the Valley of the Roses, perhaps you looked to either side and you saw the lusciousness of the gardens, and everyone had a bit of a garden and was all surrounded by fruit trees or olive trees, and some of the people were sitting on the ground, and then some had children, and they were just being. And it shows you that for the future, if you want to eat, it's going to be important for people to put all their gardens together. It's a part of life, a part of socialization. You follow? So there are many things you are learning here in Morocco and from the old Berber culture, which again, giants, Atlantis, all of this, that are going to be important to counterbalance some of the madness that is going to take place in the Western worlds. You follow? Sometimes you think, oh, those people in those third world countries, we feel sorry for them. They don't have all that we have. We can go shopping any time of day we want. We can buy anything we want at any time. And the Westerners have convinced themselves that that is happiness. It is not. And that lifestyle only has, let's say, a certain warranty on it. It's not going to last forever. And the warranty is coming to close. Questions, comments?
Peace, this is Taurus.
Taurus, all right.
Yes. I was thinking about collective memory. It seems to me, as we listen to Ahmed talk, that they are so, because it's a smaller country and they have the same religion, for whatever reason, they seem to have shared so many beliefs together that identify who they are and to themselves.
You mean the people in general?
Yes.
Even though they are Arabic and Berber?
Yes.
And a little bit of other.
Because whenever he talks about what's going on, he says, well, we believe this and we do this. There's a big we in it. But what I was wondering...
You notice he represents not only Berber, he represents Morocco.
Yes.
Do you represent and identify with your country in that way?
No.
Something to think of, but go ahead.
Well, when we were at the fossil factory where they made the furniture out of the fossilized the fossils inside of the marble, and they talked about how that all of Morocco had been underwater at one time, and they have the physical.
And this is and this again would be millions and millions, 300 million years ago.
300 million or so.
Longer than that, yes. We have a geologist here, is that correct?
380 million.
380 million years ago, all right.
Yeah,
that is
so
officially from
thinking,
Patricia.
Because many times...
Virgo, yes? Virgo.
Aquarius.
Virgo, Moon, Aquarius, all right, the record keepers, go ahead.
Well, you've referenced many times that you are really helping us to look at experience or understand somehow maybe the last 500,000 years. So this to me is the place that I personally witnessed where people seem to have, people have collective memory that takes them back 380 million years because they all see these fossils, they know they're real, they find them in the ground, and they live with them, and so they have a collective memory back to 380 million years. I just find that astounding.
Yes, and what is the population again? 33, 35 million? Something like this? If they all wanted a fossil, they could all each have a fossil in their home. They could have dining room tables made out of things. Yes, a toilet, sinks, anything you want, pillars. So the fossil levels are quite amazing. And if they were, our vehicle asked, she said, well, how far do you dig down? how many meters? He said, what, 15 meters or some such. When she said, do you ever go 20 or 30? No. Well, imagine what has been found all over the world by those who dig boreholes and who have opened up the earth and went down much further than 15 meters. 15 meters being what? About 50 feet or some such?
Correct.
About 50 feet, yes. About as tall as a giant.
Yes, so for them to live in the desert with the knowledge that it was all once underwater, and they're so willing to, they have this innate sense that things change and don't hang on to it, and all of this. To go from the knowledge that this land has been underwater to now this the biggest desert in the world.
Think of this. How you're going to go tomorrow to 6,000 feet or something more?
Yes.
Today, everyone around the world is wondering, do you think the ocean is going to rise 3 feet or 6 feet or not? Do you understand? That's a big debate. Will it go up 20 feet? If Morocco was covered, there's a lot of water that covered the earth. Do you understand? And someone asked our vehicle earlier about coastal regions. Living in Morocco, looking around, looking at the high atlas and realizing, wow, when you play with energy too intensely or you live in cycles of drastic change, the waters can come that high. And then they can recede. They can seed and make life. And rising and falling of waters, the rubbing of plates and moving of plates, the spontaneous birth of weather relationships, heat and cold, all of this is connected to the feelings and the consciousness of all the dwellers on earth. So you change your beliefs about time and your appreciation of, let's say, this culture, and perhaps you're having a deeper look at your own culture. Yes, Taurus?
Yes, definitely, for sure.
Anything else? Shall we move on?
No, that's okay for now.
All right. Who has a question, comment?
This is Aries.
Aries?
I had a particularly emotional catharsis at the sand dunes yesterday.
Yes.
And picked up that the giants had buried secrets under the dunes.
Absolutely. But the problem is the dunes shift.
Indeed they do.
Indeed they do.
I can imagine how challenging it would be to discover those secrets, considering, as we experienced with the wind, it was a little uncomfortable to be out there being pelted by the sand.
And that was a mild little, let's say, soft, gusty, gentle wind, they would call that. Just as the Irish have names for rain, they told our vehicle they have 300 different names for the rain or something. Soft rain, wet rain. There are many, many names for the wind of the desert. And its mood, the wind or the air element is understood as a being. And so it is quite humbling indeed. And perhaps you heard us a number of years ago speak to Homelander Bob. One time he came dressed in a kaftan and in sort of a desert outfit, and we said to him, Bob, do you remember being stranded in the desert, looking for you and your accompanying friends with your camels, looking for a giant skull to shelter you, to spend the night in?
Yes.
There's a memory for you. Do you understand? There's much history around the Sahara, and it will be up to you to come up with the questions, to come up with the intuition, to use your wits to start to put these stories together. You know, humanity must do its own work. We and many other beings that you'll never meet, but they are here in presence to assist you. We must wait for you to do certain things. You must initiate. You must be your own Aryan selves. And when you initiate, when you come up with imagination and intention, then things start to roll. So it will be not so long in the future, maybe next 2-3 years, certainly before 2012, there will be big surprises that will come out of the Sahara. And perhaps you will look back on this day or two after summer solstice, 2008, when you greeted the sun and you felt the awe and you walked the lines of time and came back to say, open your secrets from the mysterious Morocco end of the Sahara. Yes? So the emotionality you are feeling, Aries, is the, let's say, and Sagi's emotionality that she felt when, after she bumped her head and processed it through, there is a sense of relief to the physical being and the spiritual soul being in the spiritual being, in the physical being, when a duty timeline is crossed, when you have fulfilled a duty. There is a sense of, oh my gosh, I can take this pack off my back. There is shelter. I have completed this. And for some of you, just coming to the edge of the Sahara was an agreement in this lifetime. It is a code and a trigger for what is stored in the Sahara and for where you will go next in life. You see, you make agreements and you say, all right, I will set it up this way. These are probabilities. And if I go here and I go here and I go here, then these probabilities will open. But you're always playing. You're always playing. And if you get too serious, well, you get wrong star system. Anything else, Aries?
I imagine that the consciousness of that wind can, as we saw, cover things very quickly, but also uncover things just as quickly as our consciousness shifts to discover things we're ready to integrate into
Yes.
our own consciousness.
Yes. For example, our vehicle scooped up some of the Sahara. We know that Ingrid offered a special offering to the Sahara. Yes, Ingrid?
Yes.
Do you care to share it?
Sure. The day before I left Canada, I shaved my head.
You shaved your head.
Yes.
Did you do it yourself or did you go to a salon?
I went to a barber.
A barber? How practical.
A couple months before I felt that it was time to let go, put my past behind me. And 2 or 3 weeks before arriving here, I said, why don't I do it then, and why don't I bury it in the Sahara Desert?
So you got the idea a few weeks before to cut your hair, shave your hair just before you came, and then to save the hair and bury it in the Sahara.
Yeah.
Now, where the heck did that little... That is a bit of pre-planning and sort of scorpionic investigation and setting things up if we've ever seen it. Go for it, dear. So you did that, yes?
Yeah.
You buried your hair in the Sahara.
Yes.
Well, let us say that in some way, for you, the emotionality will come later, deeper and deeper, and you will realize that on the lines of time, you brought something back. And it was an announcement, returning to, let's say, the roots of your ancestral lineage in some ways, the continent, and it was also a timeline promise, sort of something fulfilled. I will come back. And you all make promises. And you have all been separated in time. You've promised to come back, and you've been separated from families and soldiers and tribes and clans and children and lovers and all this. And so sometimes you've not been able to make it back in the lifetime that you promised you would. And there have been many broken hearts all over the planet about waiting for someone who said they were going to come back, and they never showed up again. You understand this? And if you allow yourself to feel the emotionality, and if your heart chakras were really open, you would all start crying right now about the sadness of that loss, the inability to fulfill that promise. I will return, I will be back. Wait here for me, I love you. You fulfilled a promise in a different line of time, in some way, to plot and plan ahead of time and get that impulse. Your higher self was going, Ingrid, get this good idea now. Take it with you here, there. Because on some level, and you will ideally get in touch with this someday, it was a massive returning of the child who left home, and everyone was worried and did not know what happened to her. You came back and brought the hair, the antenna. The hair is the power, the hair is the beauty. When you shave the head, it shows that you are vulnerable. You open the crown chakra tremendously, but too much crown chakra open can be very hard for a person. That is why people who are bald often cover the head, because there's too much energy coming in for them. Do you understand? People who have hair often do not cover the head. But even here in this country, you see how much they cover the head? Cover the head, you close off the portals, there's all sorts of things around it. So there's a reason you have hair. There's a good reason you have hair. So it's not just something hanging around there to give you a bad hair day every now and again. We are being practical here. So that was very good, Ingrid. And so there was all these little things going on with people, and you were fulfilling something. You were all fulfilling something. You were all starting something. You will think back years from now on the morning sunrise at the Sahara, that was the beginning of something for you, a new cycle. For our vehicle, she discovered yesterday, she looked at the ephemeris, and she found out that, as she looked at the ephemeris, that the time in the desert hotel, Kasbah, and then going out to the dune in the morning, she was having her exact Saturn to her moon for the final pass. And perhaps 9 moons ago or so, she dressed up at a timeline party as a desert shamana, she called herself. A desert shamana in black and white, and she came from North Africa. Her name was Said Zemara, and from Saharini, the Sahara people. Do you understand? Very fascinating the way you open the door on something, and then the door is open, and the timeline says, it's open, and the timeline then starts coming back to you. It's a game. Do you remember this? It's a game. Play with it, have fun, to be in grace. How much time do we have left before it is going to beep beep?
Well, it's going to go on for about a minute.
In about a minute. And being that you have such a good room here, we will do a bit of a toning to find out more about the giants, to allow balancing, healing energy in this along the let's say Rift Valley here, to let's say allow Morocco to vibrate even with great gifts for you. But before that, we will take one more question. Who has the question that we can give a relatively quick answer to? Someone? Capricorn? You are a good thinker?
What I noticed, and it really came to my consciousness when you've been talking about this, but after we went to the Sahara yesterday, we were coming back, it was daylight, and I saw a lot of dromedaries.
Dromedaries.
Yeah. And I just fell in love with them. I think they're elegant and beautiful. So when we went to the postcard shop, I went through and got every postcard that had a camel on it. And
well, you know what is next then, do you not? All right, very good. It's time to ride it. It's time to jump out of the 2D reality, the postcard, and onto the real 3D beast.
I wasn't so sure I wanted to ride, but I do admire them from a distance.
Well, see if you can get closer to them. Make an intention that you can have a pleasant, close experience, because it's a perfect example of I saw them, I fell in love with them. Remember, love equals familiar, yes, and familiar equals timeline and home, and you bought all the postcards. So you are showing yourself, literally, I've been around herds of camels.
Yeah. Yes, there was a man who had a herd of camels, and I thought, he's a lucky man.
This is one of her timeliners speaking. Her literally saying, see how this was lucky when you had the camels, it was lucky. Oh, camels can spit and hiss and piss and do all kinds of things, you know. But they can be your very best friend when you live in, let's say, these more barren or desert environments. And camels very intelligent, and let's say we'll give you little bit of a timeline clue here. If you allow yourself to come closer and just to even sit and, even if you don't get on the camel, to just sit and watch it close from a few safe feet away, you may remember a time when a camel saved a dear, dear loved one's life.
Yes, that was good.
And there would be a tremendous amount of grief release and let's say emotionality behind it, because you have to you, your timeline, a camel represents the camel coming in and leading the person that you thought was lost and bringing them almost dead back to you. And then, of course, you have healing abilities, and you are able, along with others, to use magic, woman's magic, man's magic, and to bring the person back to life. A very strong emotionality there. You see, if you give us a story, we'll help you with the rest of the story. We are not chintzy. We are not chintzy. We are generous, all right? So, it is time to conclude, and thank you for that story. Next time we have meeting, we want to hear from all of you. By the end of the journey, we want to make certain that you've all dialogued with us in some way, that you've shared something, that you've contributed, that you've said, I am the creator of this journey. And Mr. Chet and his partner Kalista, they have done their portion. Our vehicle has done her portion. We are doing our portion. You are doing your portion, and all the Moroccans and Berbers are doing their portion. It is a massive group collaboration, but yet just an itsy-bitsy journey along the lines of time. So let's energize the mysteries of Morocco. Hamdulillah. All right? Hamdulillah. And that means thanks be to God. And you can think of when we say Hamdulillah, if you want to be a bit sacrilegious, you can say Hamdulillah. Then let's say the blessings of the Holy Woman and the Holy Goddess as well. Thanks be to that. So how about we tone very deeply for the mysteries of Morocco to come through yourselves, to come out of the earth, for the gratitude, for the grace of the people to fall even greater upon you, more laughter, more beauty, more knowledge, more groundedness in the moment, and certainly lots of joy. So, toning, please, let's show us, and put a little Arabic spin on it, if you will. Listen to each other and go for it. Say to Bismillah, and you will say it back. And that is divine blessing. So, with those divine blessings, go kick your heels and have a great time. Do you understand?